Right, sir. We are live now on Facebook and it's being recorded now.
Okay, so very good afternoon to everyone in the LPF webinar series 2.0. We are once again back with another speaker, and this time the lady who has joined us is a young entrepreneur, Yashasvi Surana. And as the name suggests, she has earned a lot of yash as Yashasvi is an entrepreneur, marketer by profession, a presenter and public speaker at heart, painter by passion, and forever a curious learner. Leadership program. She is a gold medalist for her academic performance, and the mantra she abides by, the first step towards achieving the desired goal, is in the fact taking the first step. So Yashasvi, thanks for joining us for today, and we are really eager to hear you about the key mantras and key things about your entrepreneur journey and how our students can opt for entrepreneurship in their career. Over to you.
Thank you so much for the lovely welcome and introduction, sir. And thank you so much for having me here. It's an immense pleasure to be surrounded with such a panel of amazing people. Like sir mentioned, I am Yashasvi, and I am here to share my perspective on what it's like to be an entrepreneur, purely from the lens of my own experiences, my own perspective, with the help of 10 key learnings and few key moments of my journey. But before I jump on with what I'm going to speak on and what I'm going to share with you all, I have a very quick question and a very generic one to ask, and I would love to see you interact with me via the chat box. The question is, how many of you in this group wish to become an entrepreneur? If you wish to be one or you already are one, please type in one and type in two if you do not wish to be an entrepreneur. I see few one in the chat box. Okay, lovely. Now, since I see few of the ones, another question for me and for all of us would be, if you wish to be or if you aspire to become an entrepreneur, what is your definition of an entrepreneur? What do you think it's like to be an entrepreneur? And you could answer in like a word or two, few keywords or a sentence, anything as you desire in the chat box, please. What's it like according to you, or how do you define an entrepreneur? What do you think is an entrepreneur according to you? I would love to see few answers in the chat, if there are, for especially those who mentioned one: leadership, dedication, passion, freedom. Wow, that's amazing. Creating value, definitely yes. I see some interesting definitions. That's now use of knowledge and information to create value, definitely yes. I would love to see one or two more. It's just your definition, no theoretical definition, no Google definition, something that you personally feel. Okay, those are some pretty interesting ones. Right. So I saw about how it's about leadership, how it is about knowledge, innovation, about that freedom. A lot many times people, also say that an entrepreneur is the one who needs to have a great idea. You need to have, you're trying to solve a problem. You're trying to have a great idea to become an entrepreneur. Or in order to become an amazing and successful entrepreneur, you need to have an amazing and innovative idea. You need to be able to lead your idea, an idea which is unique, an idea which is innovative. So while it may stand true in different situations, for me, this is more like a myth. I'll tell you why. The whole saying that all you need is a great idea to become a successful entrepreneur is a myth which I have always wanted to burst. What I rather believe is that In real time, having just a great idea may not even make you reach near the ladder of success. It may not even make you a successful entrepreneur, or may not even, foster your entrepreneurship journey. Let me now ask you all again, with the assumption that majority of you aspire to become an entrepreneur, and for those who answered one, you definitely would love to answer this question. If you're trying to find an idea for your entrepreneurship journey, if you're trying to look for an idea, what would you rather do? Would you try to think outside the box for the idea? Would you trying to, find an never done idea? Or would you think within the box? If you like to think outside the box, type in 1. If you like to think within the box, type in 2. Let's know your viewpoint. Okay, new ideas, 1, 1, 1. Anybody who has a 2? 1, 1. Okay, so many ones. Interesting. 1, okay. Uh-huh. Okay, so I see a majority of 1 with no 2s. Thank you so much for answering. While it's amazing if we are able to think outside the box, if we are able to think some new ideas and bring something new for the market, for the people in the market, for somebody whom we are creating a value, so somebody, we are fostering or giving something. What I personally believe is that it is not always necessary to think outside the box. Thinking outside the box definitely is amazing, but we can think within the box and yet provide a better value to our potential customers simply by making the existing things, products, services, or even the process better. Simply by providing a solution to the problem that exists within the box itself. It is a matter of fact that, innovation and entrepreneurship, they goes hand in hand. But it is not necessary that the innovation just has to be in the form of the idea. It could also be in the form of a process innovation. It could be a process innovation where we involve a process which is different from an existing one and can be applied to an existing idea. Let me tell you how. Let me talk about my own experience with my company, Alpino. It is an e-commerce based clothing brand, okay? And if you look at it from a broader perspective, the idea of selling clothes online is definitely not a new idea. Hundreds and thousands of people are doing it, and we have, hundreds and thousands of e-commerce based brands selling clothes today in Nepal itself. So what is it that led us to complete the full 2 years and grow every day? What is it? It's not just the idea, it's the process innovation that I have been implementing in my own company. So in order to, work towards something, a question that I have always asked, and we as aspiring entrepreneurs can ask ourselves, is what problem do you want to solve? You're resolving a problem, definitely yes. You are leading something, definitely yes. You are, bringing in an idea, definitely yes. But for all of these answers, you did not look too far. You don't really need an intense research for a great idea every time. What we as individuals can do is look for problems in the community level first. Look around you, look around your house, your office, your family, your friends, your own circle. Is there anything that troubles you almost every day that you might have a practical solution for? We can look for a problem that we have personally experienced, and then we would work towards a solution. And that solution could be to an existing idea itself. Being an entrepreneur, as per me, is about keeping all our senses open. All the senses open in order to, identify the little gaps around us. The opportunities everywhere. The little gaps are everywhere. All you need to do is identify it. So while a great idea could also fail if not executed properly, an idea within the box itself, but with a process innovation, with a product innovation, with the way you are providing that product or service, if that is well executed, that could succeed better. This has made me realize that, in the entire entrepreneurial journey, rather than just the idea alone, execution is more important, because this is something that is going to lead you towards the journey of success. This is something that I have been abiding by in my own company, Alpino, for over more than 2 years now. It's 2 years and 5 months, and we have been abiding with this throughout from the day one. And God forbid, it has been in our support. So let me share a very, very, very personal experience. Okay, back in my bachelor days, only a few companies they sold clothes online. It was not long ago. It was around around 4 years back. So the e-commerce was not really dominant in Nepal. Beyond Nepal, it definitely was, but Nepal was just booming in terms of e-commerce. At that particular time, I came across a store, an online store, and ordered a top for myself. I love shopping, fashion enthusiast, so why not? Let's order. This was my first ever online purchase in Nepal. I was skeptic with the same reason we might all have. That is how the product would be. Online ko saman ho, kasto niskiन्छ होला. Photo जस्तै real life मा पनि सामान त्यस्तै हुन्छ कि हुँदैन. Quality कस्तो होला. All of those issues were there in my mind. But to my pleasure, I was lucky enough, the product came in well. Design, the quality, everything was superb. Okay? It was just like what I saw in the photo. Sadly, the size did not really fit me. It was too big for me to fit in that size. So what I did was I requested for an exchange. I would have loved to return it back and, like just take my money again, but then they had no policy for returns. So what I did was for any exchange, I messaged them. They left me seen with no reply. Then I tried to find their number. I got the number. I tried calling them. Nobody received the call. And it's not just once or twice, like so many times, approximately 7 to 10 days, I gave them a message every day. I gave them a call every day. Message was left on scene. And I don't know if they recognized my number or something. They did not even receive my call. And at one point of time, my phone was not even reachable. They probably blocked me. I don't know what happened. This was a situation. Now comes the turning point. After probably 25 to 30, like a month, or probably a month, I get a message saying that, hey, we're so sorry, but we cannot exchange your product because the exchange period is over. And I had been messaging them right from the day I got my top. How interesting, right? I mean, I'm messaging them right from the day, and they're messaging me after a month that my exchange period is over. Pretty interesting. So this situation was, I don't know, it was weird, and I was angry. I was irritated by the service. It kind of made me lose a recently developed faith in the e-commerce businesses of Nepal. But something good also happened. I saw this situation as a problem which was not solved to a great extent. The problem was right in front of my eyes, right on my experience. The problem of lack of good customer service, the problem of customers having zero level trust over the entire e-commerce industry, and the problem of companies even making the customers lose faith through their actions. So the entire problem was based on my experience itself. With this experience in mind, I came up with the idea of Alpino, which is an existing idea of selling clothes through an e-commerce platform itself. But there had to be something different in a manner. There had to be a difference between the other e-commerce brands and Alpino. The difference that I came up with the process innovation and my management in the form of how I dealt with the customers, how I responded to each and every of your queries, how I made sure that each communication was polite, well thought, and well spoken, how I made sure we had return and exchange policies because that is a major issue in the e-commerce, and how we could also provide trial at home facilities. Everything that other e-commerce were lacking somewhere or the other. Always made sure that the brand's values, it was for the benefit of the customer, not for the benefit of me making money. It was for gaining that trust of the people in the entire ecosystem. And this core value of a brand, the core value of, keeping customer top, it has something that has made Alapino stand out. Because when we do not value our customers, it is more like a major learning for me. We must value our customer just the way we value a brand, or sometimes even more. Because when we do not value our customers, the customer may go and our brand may not even exist without the customer. So as much as we value our brand, our company, we must we must value our customers even more than what we value our brand. And this is a great learning for me over the last many months. If I also have to add on about my company on what sets us apart, is that we have a very particular niche. We primarily focus on women's business casuals. We do not sell everything. Second, we make our own designs and we tailor make it in Nepal itself. All the products are made here itself. Third, we custom make apparels. We custom make all the designs in the respective choice of size, design, materials, and even the price. Basically, everything from scratch. So while I may be sounding very confident, composed while I'm talking about my own journey and how sure I am to explain you what the company does, or even maybe sound like, doing a free marketing of my company or boasting about it, I am mentioning it to share a very, very, very important learning of this journey. The learning of being able to explain what you do in a simpler language, being able to explain it to any layman that is in front of you. The learning of overcoming failure and also adapting to time when necessary. Let me explain you how. Alapino did not start this way. Sure of what I am talking right now. My company did not start the way it operates today. Let me take you all back to 2 years. To run a clothing brand. So I kind of confirmed the brand name, the logo, the designs, everything that's needed. And once everything was set, I'm emphasizing when everything was set, in my perspective, when I thought, okay, I'm ready to take my brand forward, that is when I launched the brand Alapino for her and for him. Meaning I started Alapino, which had clothing pieces for both men and women. And very few people know about it today because the men's collection did not go out well as did the women. The first collection that I brought in of both men and women, so women was being sold, it was like the collection was doing well, but the collection of men's categories, the first one, it went out well. Luckily, I had friends and families who supported me and made sure that, the first collection gets sold out. However, with the second and third collection of men, as it started coming up, the response started to become terrible. Trust me, it was terrible. The inventory began to pile up, which blocked quite a lot of my funds because products are there, it's not being sold, your money is trapped, right? The inventory began to pile up. It showed me that men's collection by Alapino was not really a success because not many pieces went out after the first 2 collections. So the reason could be the designs, the preferences, the customer behavior. It could be anything. The men's section just did not work. And because of this, I gradually stopped bringing in menswear. And I shifted my collection purely for women. As a matter of fact, I still do have a few of stock of men's pieces folded well in my almirah as an inventory because it's not getting sold even today. So the whole point of me sharing this with you all is that we can never be guaranteed of how a product or services will do in the market, regardless of how amazing your product or service alone could be, regardless of how amazingly and perfectly you have, planned the launch, the market may not be willing to accept it. It's not in your hands. That is where it's time you pivot. You make a change in the way you operate. And one powerful way to overcome a failure is to bring a change in the way you're doing your operations. For every individual who is an aspiring entrepreneur or a business person in this room with us today, it is important that you understand that you do not find customers that are for your products or service, but rather you bring in products that are for your customers. It's the other way. Being customer centric tops the list of any practice when in business. And at the same time, I also feel that we must think from the other person's filter. You look at it from the other person's perspective. Start from the customers. That way, we are able to better understand the changes that are needed. We better understand why was the process a failure? Why did it simply not work? What I personally do for this, I still do is a quick survey in my Instagram stories of the page handle. I share in stories, I post some surveys where I am able to understand the people's perspective. I can understand what are the pain points. Like for example, if I simply ask, what is the reason of you not purchasing from Alpino? The options are the price, the designs, the quality, something others. Based on people's answer, I can understand what their pain points are. Why are they not purchasing from us? And how can I as a brand, I as a company work upon those pain points? This is a major, major, major thing that you have to apply if you're aspiring to become an entrepreneur. I've also learned the importance of being open to any sort of changes. Any sort of changes required during the operation. Moving from a brand for both men and women to being a brand specifically designed for women. Moving from everyday casuals to primarily women's business casuals. Moving from ready to wear products alone to adding on custom made products. All of these changes that my company has been going through was never initially decided. It was because of what the time demanded. The day I had designed my first ever logo of the company, I had loved it. I was like, wow, it's beautiful. However, 2 years down the line, when I officially completed 2 years of Alpino, I started to feel like, nah, this isn't something I want. This does not reflect the vibe of my brand. This does not represent what I used to do. And hence, after 2 whole years, after lots of thinking and, designing, I finally designed a new logo and changed it after 2 whole years. The Alpino's logo was changed. Therefore, we may have lacked something initially. We may have done something as planned, but this planning totally depends on the present circumstances. The future is unseen, and thus we got to keep ourselves ready to adapt to any changes. We got to be ready to adapt the dynamic needs of the market, and that is also how you're going to be risk averse. You're going to be ready for any challenge that comes in front of you. So after this, let's say you enter the journey. You're aspiring to become an entrepreneur. You finally, took your first step of becoming an entrepreneur. You have a product or service that you want to provide. You have an idea. You have everything. Now, if I ask you, what makes you happy? Is it the number of orders received and the money made out of each order or the number of happy customers? So if the number of orders received and the money made out of each order makes you more happy, please type in 1. And if the number of happy customers makes you rather happy, please type in 2 in the chat box. Let's see what makes you happy if you are becoming an entrepreneur. Okay, now I finally see some 2s after quite a time. Okay, that's 2. Amazing. That's amazing. You people just touch my heart. Well, you all mentioned 2, right? But for me, every order received would definitely make me happy, because that's how I'm making money, right? Without money, the brand won't sustain. But just like you all, just like what you all said, what makes me even more happy is the feedback that I receive from my customers. Every happy customer is it's like an added benefit to me, because the testimonials that I get from each happy customer, that makes me understand if my products are really being liked or not. Is it worth doing it? What am I doing it for? If the customers are not happy, whom am I doing it for? Not only for my freedom, not only for my leadership, not only me for, being my own boss. Whom am I doing it for? Are my customers really satisfied? And when we know this, when we know that happy customers are there, that is when you realize that when there are happy customers, they will definitely come back. They'll come back, they'll give you more orders, you're going to make more money, and the cycle continues of happy customers every time. It's a rotating circle. So there are so many moments in this journey that you may experience. These moments could be funny one, it could be hopeless ones, it could be irritating, some sad, some exciting, some amazing ones. Let me share a funny and an amazing experience with you all. So it was in the initial days of me starting the company. I still remember that I had once received an order which was of above rupees 15,000, a single order. And that makes around, at that time, it was around 7 to 8 products from one person. And for the first time ever, I received this big order from a single person. Okay, so I was definitely happy. I'm like, wow, I celebrated the entire day with my family members, with delicacies and everything. But this also kind of led me into being skeptic. I was wondering, because it is a big order for one person, because I had never received it. And I was skeptic about, was it really placed for real? Or is it just someone fooling around with me, fooling around with the company? What more added to my suspicion is that the person who ordered had no profile picture. It was through a Facebook message in my Facebook page of the company. It has no profile picture. A blank profile with a big order. Something is definitely wrong. That was my subconscious mind talking. However, just to make sure that, just to remove the suspicion from my mind, what I did was I first tried to calm myself, and then I thought of delivering the package myself. So thankfully, a correct number and the address was provided in the message. And so I went there in the given provided location, and I went there with a big package in my hand. So I called the person. It was a girl. Okay. And I said her that I'm in this location. I'm waiting for you to please come, because he gave me a landmark. He did not really specify where I had to come. Then I waited for her to come in the provided landmark. To add on to my suspicions, it did not come for at least 10 straight minutes. I'm waiting there with a big package. She's not there. I called her again, and she did not pick it up until the very last tone. And finally she does and says, "Hey, ma-ai-puge, ikchin ma-ai-puge." Finally, that was a relief. I saw a person who was there to receive the package. This moment could be small, could be, very tiny tot, but was a big happy moment for us. So in order to, out of curiosity, I asked her that, I was very honest, and I asked her, I've never received such a big order from a single person at one particular time. So what made you actually order all at once? So what she mentioned was like the designs and the way we talk to customer, like the way we talk to her. So the moment she said, I was already teary out of happiness because that was my first ever live interaction with a customer, that too with such a beautiful words. So moments like this is worth the effort of becoming an entrepreneur. The first ever launch, the first ever sales, the first ever customer feedback, a lot of firsts and even seconds and thirds. Every small milestone is to be cherished and celebrated, and I personally love doing that. Regardless of how big of a company you have, how big of a brand you've established, if you are cherishing every small milestone, it is going to motivate you each and every time. That's what it's like to be an entrepreneur from my own experience. However, there are some moments of sadness too. Say the pandemic situation. The pandemic situation was itself a big change to adapt and a downturn for Alapino. Trust me, a major downturn. Because approximately a year ago, I used to outsource my designs from India. We did not manufacture it here. We did not hand tailor it here. We got it manufactured, outsourced from India. But because of the first lockdown, that was 1.5 years ago, during March, it was difficult for me to, now go there, select the designs, and even get it here in Nepal because everything was shut. Now, this led to me in a complete pause of any kind of operation for around 2 whole months. No new products to sell, no income, no operation, basically nothing. There's nothing happening at Alapino. The pending stock, I tried to sell it out, but nothing new. And in fashion industry, people crave for more. People demand for new designs. So I said blank, okay, this is a scary situation. There's nothing we can do. So I just hope that this would just end and I could be back into work. However, the same situation never ends. It's still prevailing, right? After what, 1.5 years ago, half year now, we're still in the same situation. But this sad moment was a turning point for me, turning point for the entire brand. And they say, right, that the more you focus on the positive aspects of a situation, the more solutions are visible to you. And that exactly happened. This pandemic just led me into exploring solutions to the problem that is when we decided to make our products here in our country itself, in Nepal itself. This was not planned initially. No. Because it was now locally made and each piece was hand tailored, unlike our machine made ones previously. The dilemma was one, the costing went up high because it's being made here and it's hand tailored. So the dilemma was, will the market accept it? Will my existing pool of people, pool of customers accept the new prices, the new designs, right? There was no guarantee. I had the understanding in my mind that no, they may not. There has to be something that you're giving to them. There has to be something that you're giving them to the return of the money that you're receiving from them. There has to be a value. You all mentioned, I think someone mentioned in the chat about value. Customer seeks for value, beat you, beat me, beat everybody. We seek for value that we're getting when we're putting in some money. There has to be something more than just a piece of cloth. And that is where I realized that in order to make the new process work, I must provide something which the people are in favor of, something that the person and the people, that the potential customers would prefer, something that they would like, something that they would be ready to put the money for. So for me personally, I was lucky that the designs and the customizable factor, that is the pieces can be custom made along with a top-notch focus on customer service, it luckily did good. I was lucky on that case. But it's not necessary that this may work for all kinds of businesses. However, if we work on our core competencies, such as the price factor, the quality factor, the service factor, different core competencies of the brand and the individual. When we leverage on these factors, we're able to create a strong competitive advantage. As an entrepreneur, if you're aiming to become a successful one, you need to have a competitive advantage. Else, we're just going to be another ship in the group of other ships. Nothing new, nothing so different. So take example of Apple, the brand Apple. It used its core competency of design to, attack all types of hardware and software companies, disrupted multiple industries, including the music industry with its product iPod. So just like Apple, who focused on its core competency of design, me on Alapino, who focused on design and the service factor, knowing our core competencies, knowing what will make us stand from the rest is going to help us be strong in the market. At the same time, it is also enabling us to branch out into a variety of other market. If you're selling one product today with the help of your core competency, with the help of your individual power, your brand's power, you can explore and further branch out into 2 or 3 more products. That's how you aim for growing and scaling up your company. So identifying that my core competency of being able to bring in designs that are elevated, that are different from the market, that, in terms of its quality, in terms of its comfortness, the affordable price range, all the different factors that made Alapino stand out. This also made me branch out Alapino as a brand into Alapino's Design Your Own, where we only custom make products. It also helped us branch out into Alapino Junior, which is focused on only baby wears. So these 3 divisions was only because of the power of knowing oneself as well as knowing the company's core competency. What are we good at? What is the core competency that your audience, that your customer is with you for? Why are they buying there for you? And when we have understood that, we can definitely capture a good share of the market. And I'm not just saying it, I've experienced it. That is very important. So while I've been talking about this now, again, I have a very simple and a very generic question to ask. Since you want to be an entrepreneur, since I saw so many aspiring entrepreneurs, the question that I wish to ask and I want you to think on is, what motivates you to be one? I mean, freedom is there. Yes, freedom was already mentioned. What besides that? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Or if you already are an entrepreneur, can you just provide me one simple reason in the chat box of what motivates you to aspire to become an entrepreneur? What is it? Any, just like one simple reason of why do you aspire to become one? I would love to see some reactions. Any answer, anything that you aspire for. Solving the problem and creating value out of it, definitely yes. That's such a great motivational factor. Thank you so much, Sushant. Yes. Okay, I can wait for a few more. Anything, why do you aspire to become an entrepreneur? What is your motivation for it? Passion, that's a strong word. Definitely passion is a strong word. Anybody else who wish to add? Financial freedom and learning through interaction. Very strong point indeed. Financial freedom, having an opportunity to express your ideas. Such amazing answers. Oh, wow. Yes. Okay. Solving the problems, having pretty well. That is pretty well. That's indeed pretty well. Having now, okay. So I think that we stop there. The passion, the freedom, financial as well as mental freedom are definitely, the key reasons of what motivated me to become an entrepreneur as well, just like you all. For me, a major reason was also being my own boss and working for myself, the freedom that you all talked about. But over time, I realized that, being your own boss is not easy. With the title of being our own little boss, there comes a lot of challenges as well. It's not just about being your own boss. It's also about getting our hands dirty in the field and doing whatsoever is needed to ensure that we are growing our company. An entrepreneur has to wear many hats. You're not just your own boss, you're also your own secretary, your own IT support, your own delivery person, your own accountant, finance person, everything. Starting your own business will stretch you past what you're good at. Be it becoming the delivery person when needed, be the person doing the math, be it person who's listening to the rants and complaints of the customers. When we are our own boss, we got to do what comes on our road. And I'm not just saying it, I've done it. And, it may get all tiring and hectic at times, but it is also a most beautiful experience because because you're able to experience and, get a first-hand learning from all of this. You're getting that direct experience that you may not learn when you're doing something else. That's what it's like to be an entrepreneur. However, regardless of the self motivation and being our own little boss that I talked about, there are our times when we are stretched too much that we may not have the energy to focus on the big picture. We definitely want our brand to grow. We want to have a scalable size of our company, but there are times when we start doing everything ourselves, that may hamper the one element that we're very good at. I may sound contradictory here, but this is something that we must be able to differentiate. That when do you have to do it everything, and when is the time that you need to hire or outsource somebody else to do it for you, be it in full-time assistant or an accountant. Because when you do this, when you outsource, this is kind of give you that space to focus on something that you're really good at. If I'm good at designing and if I'm doing everything, my focus may be divided. And because we all have very limited hours every day, I may not be able to focus on something that is my expertise, that is my core competencies. So while you got to do it all, please make sure that you do not drift your focus away from your own core competency. You got to divide your schedule. You got to manage it. And that is, I think, the most challenging part of an entrepreneur. But with time, you learn how to do it. I'm still learning. I'm not saying I am an expert in this, but yes, you learn it with time. That is definitely there. Then a very, key learning that I have felt that I wish to share with you all is about building the personal brand. Many entrepreneurs, we make the mistake of focusing on building our own company so much, but we miss out on building our personal brand. Alapino could be something, but the person behind Alapino, people might not know. So let's take an example of a very popular phone, OnePlus. I believe you all know about that. So OnePlus founder, there was a Kalpe who co-founded OnePlus in his 20s. He made the brand reach its height. But now he decided to leave the company to start a new venture. What would now happen if somebody, if nobody knew who this person was, and he simply leaves the company and wishes to start something new? People, because they may not know who this person is, they won't even trust him, regardless of he being the co-founder and founding a brand, OnePlus, which is very premium today. But you know what the best part is? This person was able to build his own credibility. So despite being away from the company he co-founded, he was now able to receive a big $7 million as seed funding for his new venture, even when the product was not launched. It was not even unveiled. So whenever we are entering this journey of entrepreneurship, the investors, the stakeholders, the shareholders, they don't just look upon the idea. Believe me, they don't. They also look at the person behind the idea, because that is where they're making the investment. Because the person is responsible for the execution, the operation, the management of the idea. And that is why it is very important we build our own personal brand. We build our own credibility. You build your own name's authority. And then that is something that is going to stick with us, even if our company may fail someday, just for instance. So even if we are no longer a part of the company we had, our name's credibility and authority is going to stay with us. And that is very, very, very crucial. With that, in the journey of becoming an entrepreneur, the second last learning that I have realized, the power of self-reflection. You got to know what is done, when and how are you doing it. Each mistake made in a business, made in the process of your entrepreneurship, in the journey of your entrepreneurship, is a learning. We learn from what goes wrong. I learned that men's collection was not a feasible idea for Alipino. I learned that we must have a backup just when things don't work as planned. I learned about the importance of knowing finances in and out, the importance, of making the calculative investment decisions. As an entrepreneur, we must always be open to unlearning and relearning from each and every moment we have in this journey. Everything we do is a learning in an entrepreneurship journey. Having said that, I've now come towards the last, but the most important thing that I would like to share about my journey. And it's how I just woke up one day and started working for my idea. As we go along each day at work, great innovative ideas come to mind. However, we dismiss them. Or, you might have something in your mind. You might see a problem in front of your eyes. You might want to solve it, but you don't share it with someone because you're scared that the idea might not stick. The idea may sound stupid. That idea has been, hidden inside the fear, and now it starts to chip away. We fall back into our own comfort zone because you're kind of wondering if the idea will work or not. My advice, my learning is that you treat your idea like a spaghetti noodle. I repeat, you got to treat your idea like a spaghetti noodle, the noodle that we eat. Let me explain how. So once upon a time, there was a mother who made amazing, like fingerlicious good spaghetti noodles from scratch. So what she did was, every time she boiled the noodles, she used to take some noodles from the boiling dish and throw it against the wall right behind the stove. So one day, out of curiosity, the child asked, "Mama, why do you do this? Why do you always throw the noodles behind the stove?" The mother smiled and replied, "I'm checking if my noodles are ready or not. When the noodle is cooked perfectly, it will stick to the wall." So, as strange as it may seem, ideas can be like spaghetti that the mother used to make. Without having the noodles boiled, without actually boiling the noodles and letting it simmer, we will never be able to throw the noodles against the wall and see if it is working or not, or see if it is, cooked or not. You may not even know if the noodle will stick without actually boiling it. Don't allow your discomfort, your fear, your thoughts, your overthinking to undercook your ideas. Planning, strategizing, weighing options, should I do this? Should I not do this? Everything plays important role within a business. I'm not saying that. But there comes a point in time when you just have to, just do it. The most important thing is, and I want you all to focus on this, the most important thing is, if you have an idea, if you have something in your mind, you got to wake up. and start working for it. You got to wake up and start working for it. And that's how you're going to be in the journey of becoming an entrepreneur. Having said that, I've come towards the end of me sharing, the key learnings of what it's like to be an entrepreneur from purely my own perspective, my own experiences and learnings. And I would like to provide and give a very quick recap of all the 10 learnings that I have talked about so far. This includes the first and the foremost, have our sense open. You being aspiring to, become an entrepreneur, you have to keep your senses open every time to look for an opportunity around you, look for a problem around you. Not necessary that you have an amazing idea every time. What's more important is that how you execute it, how you make the existing idea better in terms of different form of innovation, be it process innovation, be it the way you're operating, be it the management. You got to execute it much better than the idea alone. Then we have something known as customer service and core competency that I talked about. In today's world, customer service is, it tops the list of everything. You got to have an amazing customer service for your customers to stay loyal to you, for your customers to keep coming back to you. And that is a key aspect to be focused on as an entrepreneur. You need to adapt to change. The future is dynamic. You don't know what will happen the next moment. Be ready for change. Be ready to pivot into different situations. Feedbacks. Feedbacks is very, very, very crucial. Based on the feedbacks, you realize what is working, what is not working in your entrepreneurship journey. Then we have the 6th point of outsourcing if needed. We definitely can be Superman and Superwoman in our journey, but there are times when we got to outsource. So if needed, outsourcing is definitely a key learning that I have learned, because when we do that, it makes our work more efficient, more better, and we get better results. So it's okay to outsource if needed. Then we have about knowing our finances. All those dreams, all those possibilities that we aim to do with becoming an entrepreneur would be worthless if we do not track our finances. We got to know our finances in and out, because this is something that will keep us on track, help us scale the company, and also grab some potential investors if you plan for one. Very, very, very important. Then I talked about how we should build our own personal brand, because that is your credibility and authority that you're going to carry with you. And then I talked about how you need to treat your idea, if you have or if you're gaining some time, like a spaghetti noodle. You got to boil it in order to test it. So with these 9 key learnings, the most important key learning based on my own experience, and which is the 10th one, is you got to start working for it. If you aspire to become an entrepreneur, you got to start working for it from now itself. You got to explore the journey, you got to believe the process, and you got to start working for it. There's no right time for it. The right time is now, today itself, right now. You got to start working for it. And that's how, it's anytime better to start something imperfectly, to start something right today than to do nothing at all. It's anytime much better if you are aspiring to become an entrepreneur. So having said that, I end my official words for the webinar. And as so introduced me in the initial part as well, my name is Yashashvi Surana, the founder of Alapino. By profession, I'm a business person. And by heart, I am a big time presenter and painter, and forever an avid learner. If you ever wish to connect with me, if you have any questions, beyond this session, please feel free to connect with me in my personal profile. The name is same as my name, Yashasvi Surana, in LinkedIn or via Facebook. You can check my journey of business in Instagram, Facebook, or even website, which goes by the name of Alapino. I would be very grateful if you would support my journey and we could, grow together as individuals. I would love to see your support for the journey that I am in. Having said that, I now stop sharing my screen, and now we're open to all the questions, all the queries that we all have from all of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yashasvi, and very good session we had. Now it's time for question answer. So chat box is already open. Let us know.
Yes, I would love to see any form of question, queries, confusion that you have. Anybody?
Audience, we're waiting for the questions. Chat.
Okay, we have a first question. How to nurture our ideas carefully? Okay, that's a pretty nice question. Well, see, nurturing is very subjective, what I believe. It's about taking your idea ahead one step at a time. You learn from your own experiences. You cannot, have a full plan right from day one. How do you nurture a seed? You water it every day. When you're planting it, you make sure that the soil is fertile. Even if it's not fertile, you put in some pest controls, you put in manure, you water it every day. You make sure that the leaves are growing one by one. That's exactly what we do with our ideas. You can note down your idea. What I personally do is, there may be many ways that you can nurture, but what I personally do is, the day I have an idea for my own company, for a different idea, I note it down. Every day I note it down, and if I have something new to add, I note it down again. So now I have a list of like 5 to 10 things that is around that idea. Then I criss and cross things. Like I see if this is, this is viable. If I can do this, I will start implementing it. I will try it, hit and trial, test and check, as long as it does not yield me something fruitful. If it is giving me something fruitful, I am going ahead with it. But if it is backfiring me, if there are insects again coming in the soil and hitting your plant, and there's no way you can plant a seed over there, you can grow a plant over there, it's time you change your area, switch to somewhere else. You go to do the hit and trial, and I think that's the best way you nurture an idea. You go to try and try and try, as long as you do not have negative side effects of you nurturing. So I believe that answers your question, Bharatji. I believe that does. You need to nurture your ideas gradually and slowly. You note it down, you bring in new ideas every time, how you need to make branches out of it and look for solutions for your idea. You talk to people, you get their feedbacks. It's very crucial. I hope that answered your question.
Yes. Another question we have.
Yes, I personally love questions, so please hit me. Thank you. Okay, my pleasure, Balaji.
Another question is coming to
Yes.
Yashasvi. Tell me one thing, like when we think of our entrepreneurial journey, when we can decide that this idea is feasible. Sometimes while sitting alone, we get some kind of outstanding ideas. But when we think about their practicability and their feasibility, so we realize that okay, this is really good, but actually this is not feasible, right? So can we do something about such kind of things when we don't find it feasible, or we should leave it as it is when we find there's no feasibility is there? So do you have such kind of experiences in your journey?
Yes, so that's very that kind of reminded me of a very nice experience. I talked about Alpino Junior in my session. So what happened was, like I custom make the adults women wears. I also started with customizing, and see, just like you said, this idea came in that there's a huge demand for baby wears, customizable wears. So I was like, okay, chalo, let's try this also. Let's bring in custom made baby product, baby wears, especially designer frocks and everything. So I tried it. I just tested in the market because I had an existing group of customers. What turned out was the costing went up super high, and my tailor, the person who is responsible for the designs, he was not efficient enough in terms of baby wears. Because for something that is, for example, costing you 1,000, because of the lack of efficiency, it was causing, like, it was leading to costing you 1,500. Now, if I'm quoting a rate of 2,000 for my customer, what am I saving? 500. On top of that, I'm using a little different expenditure. I'm saving nothing. So regardless of how amazing you feel is the idea, you will realize, I have realized that this idea is not viable because of so many factors. The customer is not ready for it. I don't have the resources for it. So as long as I am not efficient in it, the idea is not going to be viable. And that is how I decided to cut off the Alpino Junior customizable. So as you mentioned, I think it's better to stop it before it kind of, it's too late. You got to stop it at the right time. You identify key. No, now I think it's time that you stop doing this, because that is going to consume more funds. That is going to, empty your pockets gradually. So rather than scaling up, it's going to rather diminish your value, and even the customers wouldn't be happy. So I think that is what I did with my own company. And yeah, I think that was a good decision I made. I'm still planning to do it again because I love that idea personally, but let's hoping for another great time for it to be implemented again.
Yeah, in
Yes.
business world as well, we have so many examples. I remember Diet Coke.
Yes.
Much hype, a kind of brand which was launched by one of the biggest MNC in the world. But what happened wrong with the product, and how it could not be successful, as a very big story. We have a case study in management courses. We used to teach them. Also, we have Nano, right? Ratan Tata dreamed something about Laktakia car, and
Yes.
then he came up with the Nano. But Nano, actually, it's again a matter of debate if Nano was a successful product or a not successful product, because Nano was basically a mediocre.
Yes.
If we cannot call it disaster, and we cannot call it super blockbuster, right? So sometimes what happened, how do you think about failure in entrepreneur journey? I mean, how to cope with that, how to face it, and how to overcome?
Yes, I think failure is a part of entrepreneurship journey. There's no guarantee that, you're only going to be successful. It's no, failure is the biggest element of entrepreneurship journey. Like I mentioned, my men's collection was a big time failure. Like the amount I invested for women's collection, I had a bigger amount invested for men's collection because sizes were different. And that turned out to be failures. It kind of, brought a dent to my entire finance as a whole. But that doesn't mean that you stop doing what you are passionate about, what you have, believed in, or what you have thought of. So failure, while is a part of journey, I think you need, rather than taking on, oh no, I am failed and I don't want to pursue it any further. I cannot do this. This is not meant for me. Rather than all those negative forces hitting you from everywhere, how about we overcome it by changing the way we are doing it? Like I changed from a brand that caters to men and women now to only women's. That was my way of overcoming my failure, because I was sure that men's collection is not going to give me anything. So rather than being all dominant with the failure part ki nahi or no, this is not helping me anyway, so I'm closing Alpino, I'm not doing anything. I try to make sure that I'm giving my focus to something which is succeeding rather than focusing on the failure. So I think that worked for me. And I think that like you're adapting, you're finding a different way, basically pivoting. If this is not working, you have a backup. Chalo, if A is not working, go for B. If you do not have a B, look for a B. You can, I think, look for alternative routes in the same direction. I think that may kind of help us overcome the failure to some extent, or at least
But
learn.
definitely. Yeah, sometimes we have to, if we don't find way, we have to create way.
Yes,
Simple
definitely.
thing.
Such a strong point mentioned by you.
Yeah. Okay. So any other question we have?
I think we have a question from
Yes.
Balaji again. So sometimes ideas you come up with seem so strange. What to do at that time? Definitely, yes. See, ideas could be anything. You know, it could be weird, it could be funny, it could be going to the space and building a house there. It would be anything. Super strange. But if you believe in that idea, I mean, you're aspiring to become an entrepreneur, right? So that idea could be strange for me, but that is your idea. You're believing in it. So why not try it in the market? Regardless of how strange is it, what will happen? You started with small, matlab, like my meaning, if you have an idea in your mind which you feel is strange, you still believe it in, that is still your idea. Go in the market, talk to people, get their feedbacks. If it is really strange, if it's really something undoable, the feedbacks will help you to, you know, bring a form to it, or like you mentioned earlier, nurture it, bring it a shape, you know, develop something good out of the strangeness. Talk to people and make sure you talk to some people who give you valuable insight. Don't talk to random people who are just like, no no no, Haina, idea ekdam bobal sa, idea is ekdam khatra. Don't talk to such people. Talk to a critical person who's going to give you critics on it. And I think that is going to help you, you know, make your strange idea, weird idea, funny idea into something that is doable and viable. That is what
Person which
I would
have
do.
must have some strong feelings, some strong examples. If they are making negative, positive doesn't matter, but they should have some strong evidences, some strong counters, right? Babita Surana is there. She has raised the hand in attendee. Babita, can you write your query in chat, or Jasbir sir? Is it possible to make her to speak?
Uh,
Yes,
please.
sir. I can allow her to talk. Wait.
Yes, yes, please.
All right. I am allowed to talk.
Babita Surana.
I don't mind, but she's my mom, so I think she
Oh my
just got
God.
excited listening to what I was saying.
we have not asked for voting. She might have voted that okay, yeah, I agree all the things, but my daughter has said
Yes, she's like a
okay.
big support to me, so I think she's just she have my
Yes, yes.
really.
Okay. No other questions we have. So I believe it's time to wind up the things. And once again, from the LBF fraternity staff, management, and becoming an
Sandeep,
entrepreneur are just hello.
I said
Yes,
you mute, sir.
hello.
Yes, sir. Now I
Yes.
think you're
Now it is okay. You had gone mute.
Okay. Hello.
yes, sir. You're audible.
Yes, sir. You're audible now.
Okay. So, on the behalf of LBF fraternity, management, students, and staff members, we thank you very much, Yashasvi, and we wish that your yash should spread out even more in the society, and you keep inspiring all the young generations in Nepal, not only Nepal but all over the world. We are going to paste this video on our YouTube, so people will be watching it not only from Nepal but all over the world, right? So thank you very much for joining, and we will keep on inviting you for your, what new things you are adding in your journey and experiences. So keep nurturing our students by your experiences. Thank you very much once again, and all the attendees. Thank you very much. Please provide your feedback in the survey form, which I have provided you in the chat box. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Take
so much.
care.
Thank you for having
you.
me. It was an immense pleasure. Thank you to everyone for listening so patiently.
Bye-bye. Take care. Everyone, audience, we will stay in touch for next webinar in coming days. Thank you very much for joining. Stay tuned.